Okay, so welcome everybody to the Australian Hypnosis Conference 2024. I'd like to thank Justine Lett for being our major sponsor from Hypnosis New Zealand. And today I have Connie with me. And Connie is leveling up from last year with your topic, how to help any client heal from difficult or traumatic experiences without regression. So Connie, before we go into details too much, how is this different from last year?
So last year was very based on childhood trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sharing a lot about my process itself. But what's going to be different this year is I want to focus on that not everyone experiences trauma, obviously. Some people may go, I don't know, their parents get divorced, and we might not classify that as trauma, but
Yes.
it still affects them. Or just, I don't know, the birth of a child, I guess a sibling, and then suddenly sharing the mother's love. But then even as we go through adulthood, we have obstacles, we have traumatic experiences, and then we have experiences that are just a bit difficult, that are not classified as trauma. And a lot of people feel like, oh, if they haven't experienced a trauma such as, I don't know, abuse or neglect or drugs, that they almost have no right to heal from it. And I want to take that stigma away, that it doesn't matter what you've experienced. If it's affecting you, you have a right to heal from it, whether you want to classify it as trauma or non-trauma.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because like some people like they can see it as a difficult time, and another person would be like, no, I couldn't cope with that. I would, lose everything, etc., etc. What about the guilt thing? So I get this a lot, okay? So I always get told, you're such a strong woman, Trish.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were certain times, and I actually had a crack at my best friend one day. There were certain times where I'd gone through trauma and I recognized it as trauma because I was right on the edge of my limit. And my girlfriend, I sent my message and his girlfriend a message going, look, I need some help. I need to talk to someone. And when I told her what happened, she said, you'll pull through. You're a strong woman. And I fucking lost
Mm-hmm.
it. And I was like, I don't want to be fucking strong anymore. But how can you help with people that are, you know, dealing with that kind of like labeling as such?
I'm labeled like that as well. Don't worry. So I get that all the time,
Oh, that's not
and
just me. Thank
yeah,
God.
they're just like, oh, you can deal with it.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You're a
And I'm like,
strong woman.
well,
It's
I
like,
deal with it, but I put the hard work in to do deal with it.
mm,
And
mm,
that's what I then talk to my clients about. I tell them, share often a lot about my story. There was trauma in childhood. There was also trauma in adult life. And at the age of 25, I was very sick. I had a year of treatment and surgeries.
yeah.
And the funny thing was, I recovered physically, but then about a year later, I had major PTSD. I didn't know that was PTSD, and I had everyone in my ear telling me, "Well, you're fine. Everything's okay with you now.
Yes,
So what's
yes,
wrong?"
yes,
And I'm like,
yes.
and then I'm like, "Yeah, what is wrong? I should be actually happy. I'm alive. Everything is fine. I've overcome it." But I wasn't, and I didn't recognize it for a very long time. That it was actually that I mentally didn't recover from that difficult time, and because I'm always a strong one,
Yeah, I know,
I think I
right?
also struggled to ask for help.
Yeah, because it's like you take on this label that you are the strong one, so you will be the strong one. And then when something traumatic happens, you just continue to be the strong one and think, oh, it's nothing because I'm the strong one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. That's how I feel, and that's what I share with my clients as well.
Mm.
And it's really nice because when I share that with them, you can just see they almost go like, ah,
Yes, yes.
someone understands me, someone understands what I'm going through, and then I tell them, you don't have to be strong with me,
Mm,
you can just let go,
mm.
be vulnerable with me. I'll take care of you, for
Yeah,
once, because it's a lot of times it's people that feel like they have to hold their family up. They have to hold everything together around them. And
yeah.
if they crumble or if they show weakness, such, they feel like, okay, the whole family system or everyone around them might crumble.
Yeah, because the reality is that the sun's going to come up tomorrow, regardless of what we're doing.
100%.
So, what about do you ever get those clients that they know that they've got this strength to break down, but they just can't step into the vulnerability? How
You
do you
know,
help them?
yeah, I mean, it happens, but they might not go there in session one, but by session 2 or 3, they usually go in there. And
Oh,
then it's just,
wonderful.
look, session one is a lot about creating rapport with my clients, creating the
Yeah.
trust. I don't really start, I teach them tools, I teach them a lot in session one, but the real deeper healing takes part in the other
Yeah, it takes
sessions.
trust and time.
100%. It takes trust and time. And I mean, obviously, I gauge it. If a client straight away, I feel like straight away I got their rapport, I got their trust. Yeah, then I can, but I gauge it a little bit like that.
Yeah.
And I also work with a lot of teens recently.
Yeah.
And I know with them that it takes a bit of time. It
Yeah. And
takes a bit of time.
what's difference between the teens versus the adults then?
I feel like teens take a lot more time to build the trust,
Yeah, that makes sense.
but they don't have that fear of judgment or that pressure. So I don't know, when I tell them,
They'll tell you
use
something's
this
ugly.
tool, use this tool, they do it. They don't
Yeah.
think, oh, is it going to work for me? Then all of those layers that we as adults have, where they're like doubting themselves and questioning themselves. So with applying the techniques, it's easier with teens, I feel like. Or listening to hypnosis record, they don't think, oh, is it going to work for me?
Yeah.
They
They
But
trust
the
that
trust
process.
factor takes a little bit of time. And again, then I'll share them. I mean, I've got, teens that have been bullied. I was bullied in school. So I
Mhm.
can share with them that I wasn't always like the person that I am right now,
Mm.
confident
And that
and
can be
happy
a
with
form of
myself.
trauma as well. And that can travel hugely into our adult life.
100%.
And trauma,
100%. And I love it when teens come to me because you know what? I'm like, and I tell them, I'm like, it's amazing. You're 17. You're clearing that up now.
yes, doing it now rather than when you hit 40 and you're being
Yeah.
told you're the strong person and having a mental breakdown. I love that idea. Absolutely love it. So when it comes to these teens, I ask this because I love the whole idea of helping the future generations sort of thing. When it comes to the teens, do you ever find that there are perhaps some parents that should have been having the therapy instead of
Oh.
the teen?
You know what the biggest struggle
Started?
is? The biggest struggle is I make progress. Let's say I check in with the parents, I check in with the teen. It's like, I don't know, midweek, 3 days, they haven't been angry or whatever their pattern was. Everything is going well. And then the day before the session, I get a message from the parent. Uh, you know, she just started yelling, got really angry, and it's not working.
Oh,
And I'm like, but how was the rest of the week? The rest of the week was amazing. Well,
yeah.
so it is working. But the problem is they go to their teen and say to them, see, you're not getting any better.
Mm.
And
And
that
you're
is really
wasting my
hard.
money or something.
Yeah. And it's really hard
Yeah.
because I feel like, and I actually encourage them.
Mhm.
Don't say that. Say you've been doing so well. I'm really proud of you. That was and I say to them, healing doesn't go like this. We're gonna have those ups and downs, but those moments, whatever the reason why that teen got triggered the day before, we know what we have to work on now.
Yeah, and you're not expected to be happy yah all the time. It's
That's it.
okay to have an outburst. That's healthy. That means that you're processing it. What's not okay is to stay in that outburst and stew on it.
That's what I tell them. Yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, how was it the next day? Oh, much better. Oh, well,
Yeah.
then we are not going backwards.
Well, you're not
But the
going
problem
backwards.
is when they tell it to their kids,
Yeah, because parents
or
have
when
the
they
stronghold.
of course. Or you know what another thing is? A lot of kids at that age, 17, 18, already come labeled. And the first
Mm.
thing they say to me is, I'm so different than everyone. Everything is hard with me.
Oh,
And
I'm
I
the
know
weird
it's something
one.
they've been told by either their parents or therapists.
Yeah, yeah. I have to agree because these labels that we take on, they can be they can sort of embed into our souls
As
and
your identity.
yeah, as the identity. And then there's a lot of hypnotherapists out there who'll be like, oh, I can get rid of that in one session. It's like, yeah, sure, if you've got the most perfect client, which are very few and far between, but we
Mm.
have to also realize that it's okay to take a couple of sessions to get it through. You can't expect to
I
just smash
agree.
through a brick wall with a pair of tweezers if you might need a sledgehammer.
I agree. And I am really much about repetition and reinforcement and giving
Absolutely.
my clients homeworks and tools to do
Mm.
in between our session. I'm not the believer that it's like this. Yes, you get those 1 or 2 clients that just
Yeah.
within, but I'm about repetition reinforcement because you've had that. Let's say you have a client that's 50.
Mm.
She's had that behavior for 50 years. Now
Mm.
let's repeat and reinforce that
Yeah.
new or better behavior.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. And this is stopping future generations from repeating those mistakes as
100%.
well. I absolutely
100%.
love that. And you can do it without regression. So that for people who are watching this who don't know what regression is, that would mean without going back in time, back into all those memories and stuff like that.
100%. And that's one of the things I'll be a bit different than from my last presentation is I will actually teach everyone direct applications that they can do straight away with their clients with just simple strategies. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the things many hypnotherapists are doing subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I used to do a lot of things, whether it was because I was taught that way, I was just taught do it that way without even understanding why am I doing that way,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it was intuitively that I did it that way. But when I learned about the neuroscience behind overcoming trauma without regression, I just had to tweak a few things. Whether it was the order of how I was doing my session, whether it was the end of the session or that homework.
Make it for the client specifically.
Yes,
Yes,
that's it. So
fantastic.
that's what I'll be teaching in the presentation, that no matter what the hypnotherapist is using, no matter what tools they're using, with a few little tweaks, they can actually create that neuroscience behind it.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, everybody, for joining in on this conversation. Connie's going to be there. And not only is Connie going to be presenting, but she's also going to be on the expert panel as well, talking about anything from last year. So if you've got any questions, by all means, she's going to be there for the whole weekend. Approach her and ask away, because she loves to make sure that all of us therapists keep leveling up. So thank you, Connie, for joining me today, and we'll catch everybody in the future. Bye-bye.
Thank you.